Hi everyone, hope you guys are all having a great day today. Today's video, I'm going to cover the whole entire market in terms of Dow Jones, Nasdaq, and S&P 500, including the economic calendar. And I do post these videos daily, so I highly encourage you to double check my latest videos on X and YouTube, so that way you get the latest, most up-to-date information. Now, for the economic calendar first, before I get to the technical analysis portion, is on July 11th, Thursday, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. we have initial jobless claims, as well as consumer price index, CPI year over year, core CPI year over year, Atlanta, and then at 11:15 a.m. we have Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic speak. 1 p.m. we have St. Louis Fed President Alberto Musalem speak. Sorry for mispronouncing the name. And 2 p.m. we have monthly U.S. Federal budget. Now the thing is, tomorrow's movement of the market is mainly dictated by tomorrow's CPI inflation numbers. And then also keep in mind too, we have Friday PPI inflation numbers as well. So it's going to be two pretty volatile days technically, even though the volatility index is quite low still. So more pointing to the upside regardless. I would show what the MACD lines are dictating in terms of upside or downside, but because inflation numbers are going to affect it mainly, and then if inflation comes in better than expected, so inflation is getting lowered, then the markets will move up. If it's worse than expected, as in inflation came in higher than expected overall, then the markets could potentially come down. I'm not expecting anything crazy though, just because, for example, I believe China came in pretty much flat in terms of inflation. And then at the same time, even from the past inflation numbers, even if it comes in slightly worse than expected, the market still might take a small dip early part of the day, but ends up closing up high regardless. So be on the lookout for that. Now, in terms of the analysis portion, I'm going to be looking at SPY, which is the ETF for S&P 500, so basically the exact same thing, and QQQ as well, and then Dow Jones. So for the SPY ETF for S&P 500, basically the next level, right now we're at $561.32. The next level is $567, give or take, with some change. And that is going to be creating new all-time highs. We're already at all-time highs right now. Now, if we do come down to the downside, in terms of support levels, we're basically going to have to rely on moving averages with a little bit of resistance and support. So horizontally right about here, it's not the cleanest lines, but you can see consolidation resistance and then support right about here with the moving average. That's roughly about $556 and some change. And then the next level you could argue would be about $55 and some change because of this zone right here. Then the next level would be 54 and some change with this zone right about here. But then the moving average would be $52 and some change. Are we going to go lower? I don't think so personally, just because the market is pretty much constantly just going up. But if we were to come down to like essentially this resistance and support level right about here, you're looking at support as worst case scenario, in my opinion, 550 and some change. I don't expect us to go down. But again, we have to see with inflation numbers. Now for QQQ, which is the ETF for Nasdaq, same thing, we're all-time highs, and we close at $502.96. And the next level that we're just trying to hit, basically in terms of resistance, is $511, give or take, moving up to it. Now, not essentially going up to that level 100%. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of resistance between, but I think that's the next major level that we have to break. From what I've seen, conversion from the Nasdaq and so on and so forth in terms of percentage and Fibonacci scale. But in terms of support to the downside, if we were to drop, based off the moving average, it would be $498 and not necessarily 69 cents, but $498 and some change. And then the next level you could argue would be within this zone right about here, which is about $495 and some change. And then this moving average right here, $493 and some change. If you think it's going to go lower, $490, in my opinion, would hold us, but it's not really necessarily a good odds that would hold us for sure, because there's not really much movement within that price range, but or action that has happened, but essentially somewhat of a drop, consolidation and drop right there, but it's not really prevalent to be holding us for sure. But it is a clean number too, so 490 and some change could hold us. Essentially, if we were to drop down, I think we would come back to this zone right about here, which is about 487 and some change. But the problem is, not the problem, but I personally don't think we're going to come down that much, that drastically, especially with the volatility index being low. If it was higher, then it indicates more of volatility pulling us down, basically. But In terms of Dow Jones, we have this upward trend resistance line dating back since 2021 and upward trend support level dating back since 2024 of April, and pretty much staying with this within this channel. Now, this is kind of strange because the Dow Jones was actually, in my opinion, based off the MAC lines. This is all just my opinion, by the way. I'm not a professional, just going off of what I see and the news and all stuff. But indications was kind of pointing to the downside today, and strangely enough, it just went up still, which is pretty impressive. And it broke through the resistance level that I stated. So we closed at 39,721 points, and it broke through that 39,600, 650 points range. So the next level we have to be going up to, essentially, for the most part, in terms of resistance, is pretty much about the 39,900 points range, give or take, going off of the resistance right here, and resistance, and then somewhat of a support. I quickly drew the line, but hopefully you get the idea from there. So that's about 39,900 points, give or take. It's almost pretty much clean anyway when I checked it. And then in terms of downside, in terms of support, basically, if you base it off the moving averages and you're thinking that's most likely going to be the case, it's 39,280 points, 84 points, and then 39,218 points, and then 39,914 points, give or take. I'm not expecting much downside. I don't really want to include the MAC lines viewpoint from this, but it basically shows if it's bearish or bullish movement. But the Dow Jones is pointing more upside, so I'm not expecting much of a pull down from tomorrow's inflation numbers, and then combined with that with MAC lines for Dow Jones, it kind of shows more upside, but it's not a guarantee though, because those inflation numbers are going to dictate the movement tomorrow for the most part. But that's basically it for today's video. Thanks again for watching. I do appreciate it. If you did find it beneficial, consider dropping a like. It does help the channel, so thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. And I do post these daily, so consider following me on X and YouTube so you can be notified when I do upload the next videos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace.